Coming up on this episode of Solution Based Community presents the Get Together, mental health.
I think the average person, when they think about mental illness, they don't really think of it as mental illness. They might consider themselves in a funk.
It's behavior that I've seen where, parents knew that their stepfather was abusing or molesting their children, and they turned the other cheek because they wanted to still live together.
People will go to the gym to look good. But when it comes to our minds, what does it matter what your body looks like if your mind is crap?
I feel like the Black community is taught to distrust by fault because it keeps them on edge all the time.
50% of adults 26 to 49 with serious mental illness did not receive treatment.
How do I identify that I am ill when ill is the norm?
Okay.
If you happen to get a call about you looking a little too much like your mama, let me know.
I was looking the other day and I was like, she cute, so that's all right.
you coming down, you looking good, yo.
Why, thank you. I've been working hard, man. Working hard. But my head's looking bigger. We got big heads.
I was just gonna say, it still look real extra round, yo.
You know what? Shade.
So we got
Yes, it provides a lot of shade. That is correct.
So you know what?
What kind of filter you got on your screen, Brown Girl? Because every time you come on, your braids is like sparkle shining. What's going on?
It's extra. It's called extra.
I have a ring light.
Oh, she really got a light.
It really look, yeah.
Your joints they sparkle every time you come on, yo. This next episode right now, man, and we got some special people on that I need to introduce. First and foremost, we brought my brother back, man. My man Danny Dalton. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
My brother from another mother for years, man. Super duper father, super duper Christian, man. Strong brother, 20-year veteran of the military, Air Force, man. Just a all around good brother right there, man. What's going on with you, brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. Good to see my little sister up there, too.
Oh, yeah.
Good, Herb. What's good, baby?
What's up, baby? How you, man? Thanks for your service, too, D, man. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Doubt, man. All right.
And once again, we got one of my favorite people in the world back in the building, but we just had a nice little talk. So she is an official special co-host now.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
oh.
So welcome, official special co-host, the Brown Girl in the building. What's up, girl?
Yes, sir.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. Shit,
I'm
I'm
excited. I'm excited. I'm really I want the confetti and shit to come down, but it don't work. It don't work in this house. We didn't, the confetti don't work here. But I'm gonna get it rocking one of these days soon.
No, because somebody's gonna have to vacuum that up.
Yes.
This person that I want to introduce has been my biggest supporter, my biggest cheerleader, my biggest. Just
Don't start crying and shit, man. Come on. Don't do all that.
You cried the other day. Don't say
shit. See, you bringing up old stuff, King. That's your problem now. You bringing up old stuff. That's your problem.
Look,
you bringing up old stuff.
Well, I'm gonna bring up old stuff because I'm talking about somebody that I've known all my life. Well, this is actually
That's not true, by the way.
That is actually not true. I've known her all her life, and I was just about to say that. But she has been my biggest motivator, my biggest supporter, my biggest challenge, and my biggest competitor in my life. She is my little sister. She is my first memory that I have ever had at the age of 2.5. I still remember her being born and holding her. That is the first memory of my entire life. And she is a brilliant, beautiful individual. Juanita Henry. Welcome, little sister. The CEO of the Facts of Life Skills.
I'm going to clap that up.
A licensed clinical therapist, a social service consultant and trainer, and inspirational speaker, spiritual counselor, okay? and all around just artsy old anything you need, jack of all trades. I mean, she reminds me of me. I don't know where she get it from, but she can do it all.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
We'll give the juice to Mommy.
Yes,
We'll give
that-
the juice to
All
Mommy.
right, we'll give it up to Mom.
Yeah.
We'll give it up to
Mom got
Mom.
good genes, baby.
Yeah,
Salute
yeah.
to Denise Jackson.
You know, but this is my baby sister. I love you to death. Thank you so much for coming on. What's up, baby girl?
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited because, you know, this is also your platform. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm hoping that it grows 10 million fold, and I'm putting all that light and love into it.
Yes,
So
yes.
thank you for
Speaking
having me.
into existence. Yes, Lord.
Yes.
Yes, Lord.
Absolutely.
Speak that thing into
Absolutely.
existence. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. All right,
Love it.
let me get this floor real quick, man. This is a good friend of mine, and I think I need this floor real quick. This sister, we went to high school together. We just reunited on another podcast with another high school friend of mine. Another guest by the name of Joe, who the iPhone, y'all know him as iPhone Joe. You know what I mean? What the hell you talking about, Joe? You know that Joe. You know, just put the bug in each one of our ear, like, yo, that's such and such from high school. And then I'm like, oh shit, we was on the whole podcast and blah, 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 this and that. We reunited. This is a great friend of mine, Miss Ivy. I want y'all to give it up for Miss Ivy, everybody. Come on, let's go. Let's go.
Hello.
Very intelligent
Thank you.
black woman.
Welcome.
Very
Hello.
intelligent.
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to be on with two queens. I love it. I love it. I love
What
it.
I'm talking about. This is what it is. It's what it is. All right. So today, you know, we talking about something real touchy. You know what I mean? Something real touchy. You know what I mean?
It's touchy for many people.
Touchy for many folk. In the African American community, we really be shying away from this thing. You know what I mean? This segment here is a very important segment for the African American community. This is about mental health. And I'm not talking about the mental health that, oh, I ain't crazy. Oh, I ain't wilding. Oh, I ain't this, I ain't that. You calling me crazy. No, I'm not talking about that. I mean, do we know that grief over a loved one, unaddressed grief over a loved one is considered, you know, a treatable illness? Do we?
And that's how it manifests. Ugh, that's another story too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to start out. I want to start out by asking the sister Juanita. Sister Juanita, you are a clinical professional here. You are a mental health professional here, right? I would like to ask you. You know what I mean? Not from a clinical standpoint. Not from a I'm talking about from a personal standpoint. I need you to clarify what mental illness is in your words. And I really want to go around the board with it, but I want to start with Miss Juanita.
To me, mental illness is an imbalance. Okay. If you look at anything too much or too little, it doesn't matter which way you go, it can cause a problem. Okay. And this is an imbalance that usually manifests in a pattern of behavior that we would call toxic. Okay. Toxic in all areas of life or multiple areas of life. So you can say your career, okay, relationships. And we mean relationships, both friendships, you know, romantic, platonic, romantic, how we raise our children can manifest there with those kind of relationships, and manifest in, little things, even just how you go about your day, what your daily routine looks like. Okay. Your ability to achieve goals, your ability to have a quality of life. Okay. So these patterns of behavior are toxic patterns of behavior that block us from getting the life that we usually want. Because I don't know anybody who wants to be mentally unstable, is what I would call it, or anyone who even wants to go through grief, loss. We don't want those things. So learning how to maneuver them is really important. Obstacles of life.
I agree. It's about anything that it will deteriorate one's life. Like I said, it's an imbalance. I've dealt with mental illness in my family, friends, and any time it is destroying one's life and they're unable to understand or fix it, it becomes toxicity for them. Yes, mental illness is very toxic, even for family members just being around it who are not mentally ill as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just having to involve and deal with and trying to maintain and help.
Usually when we look at this, we usually call it a biopsychosocial. Okay, so there's the biology of it, which is when you're disposition, or you're predisposed to something like, God forbid, schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, okay, anxiety. There's a lot of things that can also take place in the womb, depending on how the mother is when she's pregnant, bearing what she has done. Is she smoking, not smoking, drinking, God forbid? Is she under stress, right? All these things kind of map the brain and can lead to negative patterns later on after, a child is born. But then you also have the psychology of it. What is your cognitive state? How do you process information? What are your faulty thinking patterns? We
talking about the brain. You talking about, okay,
yeah.
all right.
How does the mind process information? It reminds me of, for an example, if you see a crowd of people and you walk past, and we've all had this happen, and they start laughing, is your first thought that they're laughing at you? Or is your first thought that, oh, they're having a good time, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to laugh too.
Yeah.
Depending on which route you take can lead to other thoughts that branch off and can be either positive or negative, right? Mm-hmm. And then you also have the social aspect of it with your experiences, the things that you have gone through, okay? Things that might be traumatic. And always keep in mind too, what is traumatic for you may not be traumatic for me, and vice versa. Okay, so a lot of times we have a bad habit of trying to one-up each other with our traumas and saying, oh, that's nothing. When that happened to me, or I had this happen, you had a death one, well, I lost both my parents. Well,
the Deadpool scene.
Yeah. Somebody who lost that one parent is just as traumatic as somebody losing two. We don't do that comparison here. Trauma is trauma across the board. So you have those kind of three areas that we tend to look at, and all those three areas come together to form usually a mental disorder or mental illness. I don't really like using disorders because it's an uncomfortable word to say. So
it's diagnosable.
Something that's diagnosable, but also just something that, again, causes us not to reach our higher functioning, our highest level of functioning.
So one of the things that I think the average person, when they think about mental illness, they don't really think of it as mental illness. They might consider themselves in a funk. Yes. Because when I first started trying to manage minds, I was just in a constant funk and I couldn't get out. I was like, when people's like, well, what's wrong? I was like, I'm just stuck. And it's like, stuck with what? I was like, stuck with everything. Like, I couldn't move forward with anything. And people don't realize that has something to do with some form of mental illness.
Yes, Queen Brown Girl, what you're speaking of too is what you said, that word constant, right? We have a tendency to, even though it is constant, we know it's there. It's something, but how long do we take to decide to seek help? It's usually years, sometimes decades, in all honesty, in the Black community. Decades to finally say something's wrong. I'm trying all these different avenues, but that's unfortunate because those years could have been spent working towards a solution versus that time spent stuck, unable to achieve. And you're trying every angle and adding on more, faulty thinking patterns or issues that come along with it. How much mess we leave in our wake behind us. How many burnt relationships, both friendships, romantic relationships. Oh, it's a hot mess that we leave behind us until we're able to, unravel our mind. Someone once said in this meme, I like little memes sometimes, and they had this picture of a therapist, and it's all this yarn, okay? And all this yarn is intertwined, multiple balls of yarn. And so what a therapist does is just help you organize those thoughts, and we help you unwind it. I like to say this: people will go to the gym to look good. Okay, they will work their ass off to look good in a heartbeat. Yes, okay, and you will go to a personal trainer to help you look good and pay him buku dough to make you look sexy. Okay. But when it comes to our minds, what does it matter what your body looks like if your mind is crap? What does it matter? So to me, what I call myself, I was like, I'm just a, physical fitness for the mind. It's the same thing. It's no different. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what we need to do is start including this as part of our normal medical evaluations. You go to the dentist twice a year, GYN, eye doctor, those things. This should be a natural thing that we do. It shouldn't be something that's like,
just a checkup.
It should just be a mental health checkup that you do, like clockwork, that you have to go and get. But again, there's so much stigma attached. Not lately, it's getting better. But I think about it like that. It's just like any other thing that we work out of ourselves, but our mind is attached to everything.
What I was gonna say was, and you guys all kind of touched on it, but
go ahead, touch it again. Touch the shit again.
Right. Think on the term disorder, right? That means it's the opposite of ordinary. So if you think about a mental illness, something is wrong, it's sick. If it's a disorder, that means, hey, somebody is conducting or doing something that's not ordinary, right? And I think that when you think from an illness standpoint, right? It doesn't matter if I have a cold, flu, COVID, it's an illness, right? Then it's something that is attacking my body, it's something that's unhealthy or unfit. Therefore, it's not ordinary because the norm is your body should be functioning regularly, your life should be this, so forth. Therefore, I may have a fever, I may be doing anything to combat it, right? Mental health or mental disorder or mental illness is the same thing. That's on that same line.
I wanna say this, right? I want to talk about normal, right? Normal is the majority of what's around us. All right. So we got 6 people in the room right now. If 4 of us, you know what I'm saying, are doing something that particular something that we're doing, those 4 people is considered normal. Okay. Correct. So now I want to take it back to the hood. You know what I mean? Because I never want to forget it. I never want to forget the hood. I want to take it back home, right? How do I identify that I am ill when ill is the norm? How do I identify that I am ill when ill was the norm? All right, so listen, if I haven't gathered my thoughts, right, and my feelings and my emotions, right, that I had from my homeboy dying, right, 10 years ago. Now, excuse my language, but how the fuck am I going to identify with the feelings that I had with 20 other motherfuckers that have passed since then? And not only was this my man's, but everybody around me. So we pouring out liquor, some sparking up, you know what I mean? We still crying, you know, my son has his middle name and these are facts. How can you identify abnormal when it's normal in your hood, in your neighborhood, like when it's around you?
Nah, so Herb, let me say that. That's why I said ordinary, because it's all subjective to your environment and how you grew up and your experiences. So me growing up in the hood, right? I didn't know that my father body slamming me and all that other stuff was abuse, right? I didn't know that type of stuff. That, hey man, you have bottled up, pent up stuff inside of you. So that's why you react like this. You know what I mean? Because these things happen. So I think that we all are a microcosm of our environment, right? And what we know and what we're taught. And in the hood, where we from, no one's teaching us that, hey, like what you say, Juanita, we got to get those checkups. This is abnormal. It's behavior that I've seen where, you know, parents knew that their stepfather was abusing or molesting their children and they turned the other cheek because they wanted to still live together. These type of things, right? So you say to yourself, how do you deal with something like that? Because that's what my grandmother did. And I almost killed my grandfather for that, right? For touching my little sister, being, you know, open full disclosure. I almost shot him right in DC because he touched my little sister. But what I could never understand was, how is it that thought process in the mind, my grandmother can go to sleep at night, still be married to that guy, turn the other cheek, and this guy didn't molest my mother, my sister, and everybody else, and you think that that's cognitively good. You know how? Because she was raised that way, and in that environment to be like, I'm gonna turn the other cheek, and that's it. You know?
Facts.
Mental illness runs deep within families, within generations, to where the abnormal becomes normal. So it becomes unidentifiable between each other. So how can one identify by at least taking themselves out of that situation and then getting help and then looking back and saying, hey guys, I think this is not right, but nobody's listening. Nobody cares to listen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody's like, what are you talking about? This is the norm. This is what my mother's done. My mother's done. This is what Susie's doing across the street. This is what Tamika's doing. This is normal. Yes, it's normal to sleep with a bunch of different guys. Yes, it's normal to have a bunch of different kids. Obviously, there's something going on inside of you that you need to find complete and make yourself whole. There's something that he's missing, that he needs to do all of this, that he's trying to find. And everybody is making it normal because everyone is abnormal. So then it becomes the abnormal, then becomes normal. So everyone just accepts it.
Oh, that's so factual.
Looking at some of the numbers, the one that stuck out to me, Herb, was in 2018, 58.2% of Black and African American young adults 18 to 25, and 50% of adults 26 to 49 with serious mental illness did not receive treatment.
No, they didn't. They don't receive treatment. And what you guys are talking about is, I call it the mirror effect. Okay. And what the mirror effect is exactly what everyone is speaking of. You don't know it until you see it. Okay. Yeah. Until you are mirroring somebody else, usually is the person that brings it to your attention, or you go somewhere else. It's like the kid who grew up in the hood who then goes to school in Connecticut, you know, and you go to school there, and then you're like, culture shock. Oh my goodness, I didn't recognize this. But it usually has to be a mirror that happens and that occurs to say something's not right. Or you go somewhere and there's a mentor or somebody that steps into your life that says, you know, let's get this kid help. Let's get this person help. They're trying to achieve this. It's usually a coach, usually for us as coaches, okay, which are really important in sports, and or a teacher that steps in and says, what's wrong? And once you see that mirror and that mirror is shown to you, it's like you can't look away again. Usually people can't look away. But then a lot of times too, people are like, they'll see it, just like in the book of James, which I love it, right? They see the errors of their ways or the errors of their families. But what is normal to them is stronger than the ability to work through, right, to get to the other side. Does that make sense? So in other words, you know, in order to become or to leave abnormal and to go to normal, you got to fight mom, dad, cat, dog, sister, brother, because all of them are in that pattern of behavior. Okay. You usually also have to leave the area. You can't live there anymore. You can't be in the house anymore. Okay. There's a lot of things, socioeconomic things that take place that has to happen in order for you to be able to continue with a normal pattern. Because usually what you see is they'll see it and they'll start working towards it, and then they'll revert right back because it's too hard. It's too difficult, and there's too many people pulling them backwards. You're saying, you know, oh, you're being stuck up, or you're being corny, or, you know, you're being white. We love saying that to Black people when we are trying to better ourselves. You know, it is
or you
something
lose your Black card all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's something
What,
that
And I think
civilization can't belong to us. Like that's basically what they saying.
Yeah. You know, you can't be educated is to be white. I'm like, no, to be educated is to be educated, baby. Don't get it twisted. You know, there's a difference. So once that happens, or these are all these different struggles that are occurring at once. So for me, looking back and thinking about it, it's a lot easier just to stay put. You know, it's a lot easier just to stay put and stay in mess. Also, do not ever doubt how comfortable mess is when people have lived in mess. Okay. It is comfortable to them. All right. When they go to you see this in relationships all the time. Okay. Where people are used to people treating them like crap. Okay. Yep. And then when they go to someone who is beautiful and kind and loving, they feel uncomfortable in it because either they start creating mess themselves and pulling up nonsense and drama, or, you know, they bounce and they have to run and leave and go back to mess because they're comfortable.
We done talked about this a couple times. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Getting with those people, like, you know, dealing with relationships, man.
But that part of mental illness, you know, isn't identified, like we said, because it's the norm. Right. It's the absolute. It has nothing to do with walking down the street with no clothes on. It has nothing to do with talking to a tree that can't talk back to you. It has nothing to do with, you know, just going against the total grain. It has everything to do with what we as a community, as a whole, are comfortable with. We're comfortable sitting in our shit. We're comfortable crying about it. We're comfortable, you know, revisiting these particular moments because we feel like it's normal. quote unquote normal.
Or you're comfortable in the hood with the man doing the jig dance for some money and people laughing and joking, and this is normal.
Yeah.
This is a very normal thing that we see all the time, and it's not considered. But then when you go to a library and read a book, it's uncomfortable. Or like when I had youth one time and they told me, we went to Starbucks, and I never forget it. They were like, we can't go in there. I said, why not? It's interesting, but they can walk to the corner store past 25 people that's trying to holler at them, sexually molested, human trafficking, drug dealing, people getting shot, drug dealers hanging out in front of their block, and they on the street. They out front like it ain't nothing. I pull up
Everything's
and I'm like,
fine.
There is,
you know what I mean?
there is,
you know, and they're comfortable. They're comfortable.
You gotta understand this part too, Juanita. I mean, it's trauma involved in that too. Correct. You know what I mean? It's trauma involved in that too. It was art. Here's my block was about 2 or 3 blocks down from the suburbs, right? I mean, straight hood. But suburbs was right there. Spray paint, empty beer bottles, the whole nine, like crack valves, all of the above, needles, everything on this side of the street. But birds is chirping over there. Right? Yeah. What I'm saying to you is that going across that street, the thought of going across that street is traumatizing.
Yes.
Because it was made that way. Now, as African Americans with a clean slate, with a A1 credit score, with a 30, you can ride a Bentley, the whole nine. The thing is that you have had to experience some type of prejudice / racism in this country.
And now, probably will get it more because you're rich.
This is what that shit is traumatizing. Is bottom line. When you open your eyes and you say, hey, my beautiful black child descended of slaves, that shit is traumatizing. So I think.
Well, can I just say something quick? Descendants of kings and queens of Africa.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I mean,
here in America, that's all our history is here. It's all
I'm with you, Queen. But as far as we go back, we as far as we go back in this country, we were slaves. We were what was it? 3/5 of a man.
Correct.
3/5 of a man.
3/5.
As far as we go back in this country, we can find documentation where it was illegal for us to read and write.
Illegal for us to do anything other than serve a master.
Shit within itself is traumatizing.
Correct. And if we pass that trauma down, every time from the time from kindergarten on up, the one thing that Black kids are taught is their history begins with slavery. Not that, our history begins with kings and queens, inventors, innovators, and the fact that we can also say we're not slaves, but we are the descendants of survivors, despite everything that we were set up to fail, despite being made inhuman, like you just said, 3/5 of a man. And don't even talk about the women. We was just straight property. We never even got that chance to be 3/5 of anything.
Yes.
So then you're constantly teaching this to children, generation to generation. Our school systems are created to make sure that they pass down trauma from generations to generations. And then because of that, now you have this is already planted in you, and then you have this lack of trust, because why would I trust somebody who don't look like me with my deepest secrets of the things that hurt me the most?
What did I talk to you about? What did I tell you about the other day when we was talking about the COVID-19 thing, heightened alert system, right? We have a justified heightened alert system in this,
what you guys call it
clinically,
what it's called is PTSD.
Yes.
Okay? It's PTSD.
We're taught to
is what it's called. Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, going back,
we're taught to trust people that don't look like us, and people don't look like them that look like them. We're taught to not trust each other and not to trust them. We're taught this as a young age. So you go to get mental health, we're told that we were slaves and that this is bad and that's bad. And you ask a small child, which doll is the evil, which doll is the bad one, the brown one or the white one? They're picking the brown one. We're taught to dislike ourselves. We have self-hatred in our own community. And then anyone who tries to rise above that and becomes even hated even
Yes.
more because they've
Yes.
enlightened themselves. And so then how do you then say you need to get mental therapy or mental help to help counsel that? They're taught to distrust. I feel like the Black community is taught to distrust by fault because it keeps them on edge all the time. So they're always kind of playing defense. Oh, we got to stick together. We got to, but we're saying all this stick together, but ain't nobody sticking together.
And from history, I mean, the experiments that they have done on us, okay, in the medical community, Tuskegee Airmen, anything that we speak about like this, where we have entrusted ourselves, right, to some form of a clinician in some shape or form, only to be abused, right, to be harmed, to be cut open, and to be experimented on while we are alive and well, to see what will happen with our uterus outside of our bodies. These are things that have occurred and have happened, and that man is on a statue, right? It was on a statue standing outside of a university. These are things that we see all the time. Again, this is what creates this traumatic, what you guys are talking about, is traumatic patterns, right? That and triggers that happen all the time. We are triggered as soon as we wake up because we're Black.
Right.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was just saying.
When I wake up, I realize I'm Black.
We're still guinea pigs today.
Correct. You know, when I leave the house, how do I dress? How do I move? How do I interact? I'm gonna give you a prime example. Yesterday, me and my best friend went down to the shore, and it's just me and her. We just wanted to get out, you know, just walk, do a little bit of walking. I haven't gone anywhere forever, right? We've been cooped up. So we played a little game where we won a bear. And I said, you know what? There's this baby that kept standing. She probably like 4, and she kept standing on the side watching us. And I said, you know what? My bestie is light-skinned Puerto Rican, we shall say. Okay. And she's standing there, and I said, you know, let's give it to the baby because I don't want to touch a prize anyway. I don't want the prize, but if the baby wants it or whatever, just ask the parent. I said, this is my idea. But I turned to her, I said, do me a favor. Can you go ask their parents? Why? Why did I ask that question?
Yeah.
Why do I have to feel the need to say that? Because I know coming from me, I might look like a crazy Black woman who's coming over creepy with their child. Okay. But it's my idea. So she went over there. They're like, oh yeah, sure. Absolutely. That's so great. Thank you very much. Reverse it. And if it was me, no, thank you, or whatever, you know. But I felt compelled to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a mode of thought that people don't even understand. So when you talk about stuff like white privilege, they don't even understand that part that plays into it when we're dealing with things every day. And then we got to come out and also deal with the mental illness part of things. And then we're not even represented correctly in the field of mental illness health. We're underrepresented.
That is a factual statement, bro.
And it also shows, and the data shows that Black people in the mental health field, deal with Black people way better.
Yeah,
but we're underrepresented.
We're a minority within the field.
We're a minority within that as well.
We are definitely a minority in the field, and I see it all the time. And unfortunately, you know, when I go to a conference, we're like a couple little dots, a couple little specks that are there, but yet who are the majority of the people that they're serving?
Yep.
Exactly.
Us.
And you know what's difficult from the insurance side of it, like one of the things that we offer, like my employer, we offer employee assistance program. So I'm pretty sure you're familiar with it, where we allow our employees to get 6 free sessions per issue per calendar year. And then you can decide to stick with your counselor at your own, and pay for your own treatment. But when you go onto our site, you can't filter by therapists or counselors or anybody that are Black. You can filter by gender, but you can't filter by race. And it's very difficult because I know I went through it before. After my dad passed, I wanted a Black therapist. I went through 7 because when I was looking for one, I couldn't just go on Horizon's website and say, I would like a Black therapist. Like, it wasn't filtered that way. And if they didn't have a picture, I was just like, kind of like, all right, sounds like it's a Black name and everything. But, you know, ultimately it wasn't. Selena is not a Black name, by the way. But it's one of those things that's even difficult for us to search and go through your insurance companies in order to find the help that you need, because most people can't afford to pay that out-of-pocket cost without the insurance offset.
Come on.
Correct.
So you think about if you're already economically can't afford this,
Come
and
on.
then whatever Medicaid allows you to afford, then makes you feel sicker than you do when you're already mentally at your height of unwellness.
So
Then
factual.
you would rather feel that than to take those pills. I'd rather be incoherent and out of my mind than to take something that is going to slowly decrease my bodily functions where I can't cope through a day. So they weigh their options and then they choose to not take those medications by choice, just because I don't want to sleep all day, or I want to be coherent. I want to hold a conversation, although it may be brief, but they feel happier within their own mental state without being drugged or doped, especially when somebody just pushing pills off to them, not really trying to get down to the bottom essence of what is going on with them and truly finding the right medication that can help them. And because it takes a doctor who really cares, who really is trying to find out what cocktail of medication is going to help that individual. And if you don't care, you're just going to give them, here, take this,
push it.
go on, out of my office and come back. Yeah, you're going to push it. And then you tell them to come back in a month. Let me know how you feel. Doc, I didn't feel good after the first dose, so I stopped taking it. I don't want to go back anymore because I've had a bad experience now. So that person has a bad experience. You see them running down Broadway in their boxers, but that they're happier in that sense that someone cares for them and their loved ones probably do care for them and accept them as they are, instead of trying to push those unnecessary drugs on them, which makes them more unwell.
Well, let me just jump in real quick, because when we talk about medication, I'm real sensitive to it because it's important. Okay. Medication, like we said, is definitely important. What she's speaking of is so true. What tends to happen is it can take many different types or trials of medication to be able to find the right combination that works right for your body chemistry. So I always try to, if we can find a psychiatrist of color, it's always important to do so. Okay. If you can, but most importantly, also recognizing that what's supposed to happen is you do not just take medication. Okay. And that's it. All right. Yeah. A psychiatrist prescribes medication, but they do not do therapy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk therapy.
Speaking, they don't. They will see you for 15 minutes in their office and then they will leave. This is why one of my personal goals is to have an MD and a PhD combined so I can do both. So I'm much more versed in being able to help you and say, medication wise, maybe this is a struggle here. What are we going through? Going through this tribulation, and maybe we need to up, decrease, or whatever. But the goal is this: to reach whatever level of medication that you need, okay? But also to increase these coping skills to go way up here. This is the goal, to do this, okay? And it should look like this. Medication should be here. Unless we're talking about the schizophrenia, the bipolars, when we're talking about some serious mental health issues that can cause death, literally, whether it's suicidal death, or anything else along those lines, true story. But they also have genetic testing now that many people don't offer and they don't know about. You have the ability to go in to request a genetic tester where they will swab your mouth, okay? And they will tell you what medications will work better with your body and which ones won't. But many people, going back to the insurance thing, it may not be covered. It may be something that you have to pay for out of pocket, and it can cost some coin to be able to get it done. But I recommend it to people. But even on that list, you still have a gamble, and it might take some time. But I always tell people, medication is usually very important for certain people. That chemical balance can't be corrected without it a lot of times. But you need to have the therapy piece too. You can't have one without the other. It does not work.
I agree with that 100%. I think sometimes I think we're scared of the medication so much because one, it's just pushed to you. Two, there's no expectation is given along with it. And if, like you said, if you don't have the therapy along with it to even know what's triggering you and the things that you need to navigate through, and you're just given drugs, is, like you said, you're setting yourself up for failure.
And then we give up on both and we don't do anything. We're back to square one to where we were. Yeah. But like you said, it should be also
worse
as far as our doctors too, because keep in mind this too. It's also important for anybody with children. Can they test medication on kids?
Oh, okay. They do.
Okay. When we think about this, so majority of these medications that we know about have been trialed on adults and then given to children. Okay. Yeah. So this is also important to understand too, that how kids' body chemistry is completely different than an adult's body chemistry. Yes. Yeah. So these things too. So there's so many different issues with medication that's in there. Also, when we're talking about diagnosis, a Black person, and the statistics are in there. If you go to, Mental Health of America, I'm sure that's where you're pulling your data from, Mental Health of America, King. Yes. Mental Health America is a great website, by the way. I know because I read it often. But this is important because when you're even thinking about different medications and pieces that we give to people, not only do we not know how it works on children, but we also don't know how it works on people of color, right? Specifically body chemistry. Should we be honest? My body chemistry might be different than a Caucasian woman's body chemistry. Yes. I mean, we naturally see it in just how we're built, right?
Higher
Just
blood pressure.
Correct. All of these different things.
all those different things.
I don't even think it's limited to just race. I mean, it could be just woman to woman or male to male.
Or gender, right? And all of those pieces really do matter.
Right.
They really matter.
But I do want to say something real quick. Let me say something real quick. I know Herb, you was about to get in there. I think the biggest blocker in the Black community are two things that we kind of all touched on. One, economically being able to afford it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody even have health care. I mean, let's be real here. When we start talking about our communities, how many people even have health care? They got to get Medicaid or Medicare, right? And then what's the other thing, which is probably the biggest one, right? The biggest one is probably what? The support or the stigma that comes along with everything. Oh, okay.
Of course.
You just see these jokes all the time. He needs to be on some medication. She needs to be on medication. No. Oh, you want to go see a shrink? Hollywood does it. Man, she crazy. She needs to go see a shrink. I mean, there's always this negative stigma about getting treatment. Mm-hmm. So therefore, how is folks in our community, when we brought up, nobody's in there teaching us that you need to have this, and that. No, what you're hearing and seeing is I don't want to be signaled out because I feel depressed. Somebody's going to judge me. Oh, I don't want to be this because then they're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to think I'm in the loony bin. And I think that within our own households, starting with just even our children or siblings or whatever, we have to reevaluate how we view those things because that's the perception that's out there. And whether it's Black or white or whatever race we're going to go see as a therapist, the perception is, well, I don't want to feel different and awkward because I feel something is wrong with me mentally. We got to fix that piece.
And how you do that is by what you're talking about, brother, is what I teach as far as my therapy style is. I tell people, everyone's like, what kind of therapist are you? Clinical behavioral, cognitive behavior, all these different things. Okay, whatever it is, DBT, all these different things. I teach emotional intelligence. That's what you're speaking of, okay? Emotional intelligence, the ability to be able to control your emotions. And in various situations, no matter what situation that comes up, your ability to not crack and shatter, right? Under pressure, under pain, under heartache, whatever it is, you name it, it happens. What we have great practice at is that as Black people. We practice this every day. We practice this every day. This is also why you don't see us usually going into schools and shooting up a joint. Okay, why? Because, or that person that lost their job and they lose their mind. And it's, I'm not, not to make fun of it, but seriously, we tend not to do that because our life is struggle. We done lost money, made money, went through these different pieces. So what we're talking about is emotional intelligence, okay? And I tell people, I draw this map and I do it out and I put everything, I have one thing in the center. Either you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, somebody made that microphone and make dough. Somebody made this camera, right, that we're on, makes dough. Somebody made your hat, King. Somebody made your shirt, Ivy, right? Somebody's making this money. You can make coin in all types of areas, but you can't do any of it, no matter what it is, if that center spot, which is emotional intelligence, isn't there. Okay, because one decision can kill you, right? Can kill somebody else. One decision can put you away. One decision, it doesn't matter what a decision, ability to handle conflict, manage tribulation, all these have to do with emotional intelligence, and that starts with our children.
I think we're more inclined to suffer like harsh negative consequences to a bad decision. I think we're more inclined to have any decision that we make be viewed as bad. And I think that is one huge contributing factor to us not going and shooting up buildings and things of that nature. See, I think that we have a fear, this fear of white folk, this fear of a white face. So now when this white man is giving me this diagnosis, or when this white man is giving or writing this script for this medication, I got 1,000 questions running in the back of my mind. Now, as a Black clinician myself, right, I know that I'm a minority. Mm-hmm. I know that the empathy is non-existent within the clinical practice. I understand that we don't totally understand what we're actually doing when we diagnose, you know, someone with a certain thing, and they're just that's just their moral bond. That's just their cultural, you know what I'm saying, way of life. You understand where I'm coming from?
Absolutely.
And we quick to diagnose, and this biopsychosocial assessment, right, is done in 15 to 20 minutes. You better stop doing that shit.
Yeah.
When you come to my people, you come correct. A biopsychosocial assessment is not even 45 minutes.
Right.
It's, for me, I take about 2 sessions, and I'm always reassessing.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Reassessing.
Well, treatment is one assessment anyway. It's from intake to discharge is one big assessment. But I don't want to talk in clinical terms. I just want to let the people know in layman's terms that your rights, your treatment rights, what I find myself doing is not only reading, but breaking down treatment rights in layman's terms.
Mm-hmm.
This means this.
That's
that means
right
that.
there.
Give an example of that, Herb.
Excuse
How would
me?
you give me an example of something like that you broke down, like specifically?
Okay, I mean, any word, like, I don't use clinical terminology on this particular podcast or on any other platform, not even my groups, you know what I mean, unless I'm asked, right? And the reason being is because clinical terms is kind of sort of like saying psych. And the reason, oh, you thought I was trustworthy, psych. So, and Juanita know what I'm talking about. So when you come up with these clinical terms, a wall gets put up.
Yes.
You lose your
relatability. It
relatability.
reminds you of the Tuskegee experiment. It reminds you of don't look them in the eye while walking down the street. Right. It reminds you of Emmett Till. It reminds you of these things. You know what I mean? In the back of your mind, you're saying, yo, something is going wrong. This guy looks cool, but he's saying something that's making him not look so, you know what I mean? Like when I first, you know, so when I say I break things down in layman's term, bro, I'll read it word for word, and some of it will entail some cuss words or some type of slang or some type of something.
Make it relatable.
I say this, I say this, and I'll shut the hell up, right? If you got a state, right, in a family of 5, all different ages, right? That baby is not going to be able to eat, right? But if you got ground beef, a bowl of ground beef, everybody will be able to eat. Now, the reason why I say, I know it sounds crazy. The reason why I say that is because I take this shit that everybody can't digest, and I grind it. I grind it for the people who can digest the big steak. Okay, you can eat this too, goddammit.
Yeah, what you're talking about is practical knowledge and practical information, which is important.
I just told you I didn't want to say no clinical term. I'm just.
But no,
hey, emotional intelligence, Juanita.
Yeah. Hold on. I got to do the woosahs and all that other stuff.
So how do we get to, again, getting people acclimated with therapy? Because I hear you, Juanita, on what you said, but how do we get people acclimated in our community?
You want to take the floor on this one, Juanita? I'm gonna come after you.
I mean, yeah, I'll definitely do
in the community. But think, Juanita, for us, like me, you know, granted, I was in the military, and we added that element in that called the whole person concept. But talking about from the hood, it has to be spiritual, you know, mental, and then they
call that holistic health.
Yeah, the holistic.
But go ahead, Juanita. Go ahead.
Okay, for me, I have to go into it. I have to go into it in order to help. Okay, that's for me. So for me, I don't want to sit and do therapy. Unfortunately, I might live in Cherry Hill, but I don't want to do therapy in Cherry Hill. Okay, so I feel like I need to go to where I know the need is. Okay, so it's one, getting more people like us in this field, involved in this field. We need that. We need that tremendously, and we need the ability for people to recognize that this is not. They look at like clinical work as like this most terrifying and super struggle, when it's very rewarding. I'm going to be honest with you. Majority of the time, I love it. Do I come home days burnt out? Absolutely. But this work is not as terrifying as people make it out to be. I think so relieving that stigma is also important about getting into this field. That's one. Whether it's about pay or about what might happen to us while we're in the hood, if we're there, all those things that they have that prevent people from wanting to go into this field, because we need more people. Then you have to actually be willing to go into the hood. You have to be willing to go there and be in the ground level. If I do IIC work, which is an in-home community-based therapy, if I do and I contract out and I'm in somebody's home, I'm on the ground level. I'm at ground level with them and part of their family. I'm sitting on that couch. You know what I'm saying? And the couch, you might, listen, I've had beds in living rooms. Somebody literally sitting on a porta pot, like a little porta pot potty, talking about they had to pee because they ain't have no running water. And I'm not flinching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not flinching. I'm there and I'm at base level and I'm at ground level, because my goal is to figure out what do we need to do here to get them where they need to be. Okay, so it's about not having that fear of also being able to do this work as well. Then I'm also going to say, I think just overall, how to remove that stigma is, like I said, it has to be regular education of this from when we're tiny
from the very beginning.
And I think the best way to do that, for me, I like contracting with schools. Okay, that's one of my things. I contract with schools, and I might contract with them for 6 to 8 weeks. And what I notice is what they like to do is send me all the bad children, the children that they can't get to conform, right? And they want to come to me, and then we work through. Imagine if we had these social services in the school, built into the school system. So when you send your babies off to school, they're also learning emotional intelligence. It's on top of it, because this is all part of learning and education. We should start there at the school-based system, okay? From kindergarten, it should be something that you have to do every year and work your way through, just like you got to do math 8 million times. Who gives a damn how well you are at math if you're not well here in the mind? So I believe in infusing it into our education system, period, for us would be best.
All right, Herb, what product you advertising right now?
At arm's length, at any given time, I have education, right? I have education available for children, for young people. Yeah, this nicotine, I got anything you want over here. You know what I mean? Every drug, how it affects the biological, psychological, and social well-being of a human being. What I do is I sit down and I have casual conversation. Because your question was, how do I get, quote unquote, our people, how do we recruit our people into treatment? Okay. Yeah. What I sit down and I do is have casual conversation, right? About what is it that you would like to see better in your life. Mm-hmm. Bottom line. Now, a lot of our people won't tell you what it is. They will beat around the bush. I want a better job, making a little bit more money. I wanted it. Hey man, I know your mama. She told me you like to draw. Oh, no, I ain't gonna be no artist. You know, how you know? You're playing, for the next time I see you, I need you to tell me 4 artists that look like you, that may inspire you, and come back and talk to me about it next week. You get your 4, and I'm going to do some homework myself. I'm going to get 5.
There you go.
So now I go Google my 5, and while that person goes and Google their 4, and when we come back, we have a healthy dialogue. Now, the self-esteem level has not only risen by the time of the departure, right? But when they come back and they realize that therefore, I couldn't find any more than this. Well, listen, I found 5 other than your 4. So now they have 9. So it's a maybe I can. Yeah. This ain't all that bad, man. What you scared of? Progressing? Yeah. You know what I mean? What you scared of? Getting a little bit, I was scared of progression at one time too. But guess what? It feel good over here.
Yeah. And also what he's talking about is what we do too for this, which is important. I call it therapy in motion. I take my people to the art place. We're going to do art together. We're going to, you want that job? Let's go get it. Let me show you how to fill it out. You got anxiety about applications? What better than to have your therapist sit next to you to help you work through the anxiety of filling out the application? And it's a hands-on approach to when you're done. You filled out applications, we completed it, and for your hour or 2-hour sessions, you accomplished something. Those things are really important to do. Like he's talking about this hands-on work, and that hands-on work I think is really important because they walk away with a concrete something that they achieved during that time frame, and it works. It works.
And I think it also creates a type of trust between. Now it's a trust between you two. You Herb, you just said
therapeutic rapport.
I'm gonna have my 5, and then you came back with your 5.
Yes.
So and then so that connection.
Right.
And then Juanita, to piggyback off of what you said, how you were saying how you want to partner with schools, I think it would really be important for us to partner with churches too, because a lot of times people are told.
Me too. They gonna watch this be like, Henry.
I cuss all the time.
That's that word, Juanita. And you gonna go where they go.
They know.
You better get that holy water, Juanita. You gotta go where they go.
But my thing is,
that's what Jesus did.
I can do the Jesus rock still. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
and I think it's important. No, I think it's important for us to do that partnership too, because a lot of people, and I'll just use my own personal experience. When I said I was in a funk, they was like, oh, why don't you go talk to the pastor, or why don't you go to church and everything, go to church more. And here's the thing, when you do that, when you follow those instructions, when you pray more, when you read the word more, and you're still in a funk, it makes it worse, because now I have the funk that I was already in. And now I have, oh, wow, God didn't even hear me pray because nothing changed. And now you're at that point where you are hopeless. So, and I think where, the churches are really good at saying, make sure you get your physicals done each year. Make sure that you get your prostates and your mammograms and all that stuff. They're really good about pushing that physical health during, any type of service. February is where Red for Heart Health Month and everything. So why don't we have that same push for your mental health? And I think that's where.
Go ahead.
Oh, Queen, I'm sorry, real quick too, because what you're also stating is something that's so beautiful that we should do on a regular basis, because also a lot of those people who are pastors or spiritual counselors aren't clinical. That's another big part. You go there and they are a counselor. That's why they call them counselors, but they're not clinicians, which is something different. They might be able to help you on a spiritual journey, but talking to them about bipolar disorder or this depression that you have can lead to some serious consequences as well if it's not dealt with in the proper manner.
So now I got a feeling about that, right?
All right, go ahead.
Because mine's a little different. I mean, I don't necessarily agree that you need the mental health side as long as you have your faith side. So let me give you an example. I went through some stuff. King could tell you, and Juanita would know that I went through a lot of stuff, man. And so off of this last divorce or whatever it was that I had, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go and see a therapist, because I've always just relied on my faith in the Lord, and it's got me. I didn't have a problem. But what I said I wanted to do was get out of my box and say, okay, that's fine. I had a friend who was the director of psychological health that worked with me. She's talked to me every day. She would mention the therapist. So I went to 2 different therapists, and you're not gonna believe this, but when I talked to them and everything afterwards, you know what they said? Oh, brother, you're good. Well, actually the VA lady too, 3 of them did. They said, oh, you're good because you have strong faith. In fact, you taught me stuff. I don't need to come back. Now, when I was I was telling King this, and I was just saying to myself, like, therapy doesn't work for me, but I wouldn't shun myself from it. I just always felt comfortable with the Bible, prayer, and God always moved in my life. So, but it's not that I would say I'm neglecting that from anyone else, or even my children, right? Because I feel like it's all encompassing, right? Not everything is for everybody. However, it's been a big stigma that's prevented a lot of us, meaning in the Black community, to not even try the therapy, medication, etc., or get the assessment because of the previous stigmas that we talked about.
Well,
would you mind sharing what you went to therapy for?
So I went to therapy because I wanted to ensure that I wasn't depressed, and I wanted to ensure that my mind was good, because I went through a whole lot. I was going through a whole lot from every angle, right? And so I said, you know what? I want to go back there and just try it out to make sure that one, it was about depression. Really, the biggest thing was depression. You know what I mean? Because you know, I got abandoned, got left, had a lot of stuff that I had to deal with, and so I felt like, you know, still raising my daughters, I still feel like, man, I got a lot of stuff I'm dealing with. I didn't have good energy, you know, every day. My hurt was so severe and things like that. So I just kept pressing from a spiritual standpoint. My friend who was the director of psychological help was like, just try to see a spiritual therapist or whatever. And I did. And when I went there, like I said, for that, they said, well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people get depressed and things like that, but that doesn't mean that you are in deep depression.
There's differences. I was going to say there's a difference because you can be depressed for situational, and then there's depression, right?
Right.
Which is something completely different.
And that's what they said, but she felt that because I believed, and I think that this is the difference, right? For me, it's because of my faith and what I believe, and that's what pulled me through to make me everything. So her assessment was, or three of them assessments was that your faith and what you stand on. But they're saying a lot of people don't necessarily operate like that, and that they do need medication or therapy, cognitive therapy, psychotherapy, etc., to get them provoking thoughts and getting them back into a normal, ordinary functioning.
But the one thing too that I want to say that you did do is you went.
Yes. Okay. That's why I'm saying we got to be open.
I need to speak to this.
And you went. You know, you did go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I need to speak to this. From a clinician standpoint, well, from my standpoint, I specialize in drugs and alcohol, right?
Yeah.
If you were to call me, let's say you were a fifth of Hennessy a day guy, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? You were a fifth of Hennessy a day guy for probably the last 3, 4, 5 years, right? And you called me and you said, I did it, right? I'm like, you did what? And you say, yo, I stopped drinking, man, but I got one problem, man. I'm starting to shake. My job is to tell you to take another drink. Okay? Now, and not only take another drink, but take your ass to the hospital so you can properly detox. So listen, so the drink is to hold you over till you get there, right? Mm-hmm. And so on and so forth. I say that to say this. When we approach things, when an addict approaches drugs and alcohol, they approach it for a therapeutic reason. They approach it for the same reason we go to a shrink, because that is an available source for comfort.
Yes.
Okay. So now, what you want to do is make sure that, I'll go back to the holistic thing, that we clinicians call it homeostasis, balance. Make sure that your life is balanced, or you will make sure, I'm not calling you, but make sure that you are not a religious drunk. Okay? And make sure that you could coexist in society in what I call harmony. And for the record, bruh, there's no fucking thing such as fixed.
Amen.
All right, I'm done.
And because of what Mr. Herb is saying is, at any point, this is why I say therapy, ongoing therapy is important, is because life does this. Right. Okay. Right. And I believe, for me, as a spiritual, counselor, as a spiritual clinician, I believe in all of it coming together. I believe in my worship of my higher power. I also believe in medicine, right? Yep. I also believe in my need for mental health and mental medicine, right? All of these different pieces come together and they're all important. But I would never call anybody fixed because we're not Jesus Christ. That would be me. We're not perfect. Every single one of us sitting in this room has some stuff that we could go to a therapist to talk about.
Oh, yeah. There's no
right. So if that's the case, and hear me out on this, and if that was the case, and we are fixed, we would have, every one of us would have the perfect life that we want, right? We would be all exactly where we want to be, in a marriage, in a home, in a career, whatever it is that you want, we would all have it. And if you don't, then the question is, what is blocking us from getting that? And whatever that is that's blocking us, that's where therapy can come in to help us try to, again, organize it, sort it out, figure it out, what we need to do to be able to get it and to achieve it. That's all therapy is. It's not something that has to be this huge Shangri-La thing. I don't go in and boom, strike a bong and all these different things is going to happen. But at the same time, the goal is let's organize your thought processes. Let's organize your goals and let's set steps, quantifiable steps, right? You know, we always talk about measurable steps, right? That we can see to get you to where you want to be.
But you got a bong though. I seen the bong at your house, yo.
I think there's one behind, Mom. She put it in the
It's probably right over there.
It's like a bong, like on the bone.
Wow, that is hilarious.
That kind
That's
of
hilarious.
Ivy wanted to say something too.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't even see. Go ahead, baby.
It's okay. I just wanted to make a point on Dee's point. I just wanted to ask her a question because my thing is, what happened? I went to the doctor personally, my family physician. I told him I was feeling tired. I wasn't feeling well. And I said to him, and then he just prescribed me antidepressants. Now, I didn't feel like I was depressed. I didn't feel like I was going through depression, but I took the medication because he prescribed it. Yes. And it made me very sick. I needed a second opinion, go to another doctor and find out that I was anemic and I had low iron, that I was not depressed. But you were ready to push me several antidepressants and some other upper pills too that you would give kids with ADD for what? For what? When you did not even give me the time of day. So this is to be misdiagnosed and be in the Black community and didn't feel like you're going to your family doctor, you're going to your clinician, and you're telling them the symptoms you're going through and not being able to be diagnosed properly, then you feel discouraged to want to go back. What do you do then? What does a person is supposed to do then if they don't feel like, if I'm lucky enough to be able to have those options, but so many people don't have an option to just switch their doctor and get a second opinion like that. So many people are just focused. This is what they provide, and this is the only doctor I can go to. Would you recommend them?
That's hard.
Okay, Juanita.
Oh, that is a good one. Honestly, I think it goes back to what you stated. I always like to pinpoint and ask. A lot of this has to do with how bad you want things sometimes. Okay, and this might sound a little crazy, but in all honesty, you went to a second opinion because you knew something was wrong, right? And you were like, something's off, so you went to a second opinion, okay? We have a bad history, especially for our older generations, to do whatever the doctor says, take this, take that, and not question. So I think what we're really talking about is doing research for ourselves, okay? Yeah. Doing research for ourselves and bouncing these ideas and coming to the doctors with questions. Why are you prescribing this to me? Did you do blood work on me? Were you willing to do this? Again, making sure that you're including the biopsychosocial. I went to my medical doctor and I had him draw blood. This is what my blood is saying. I went to, I'm going to a clinician for me to work on my mental state, and this is what my doctor's saying, right? Yep. All these different pieces have to come together, but we don't do that. We tend to just take people at their word, these doctors at their word, when again, they're not generally for, or how we're perceived is not well in the Black community. It's no different than where there's a statistic about schizophrenia where we're most likely to be prescribed or diagnosed with schizophrenia, right? A mood disorder, just like with our children who are autistic, they will get all types of things, the diagnosis, but they might just be autistic, so these are things that we have to know and educate ourselves before we even step to any doctor, clinician, or anything like that. That would be my suggestion. And therefore, you know what to look out for. And you can bounce things and correct them or even say, whoa, because I think it's absurd that anybody try to prescribe you something from jump.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Like, why would you to go in and just try to give somebody some type of medication?
He just took it on face value.
And it was an MD too.
He said, you're a mother? Yeah, he's an MD. He said,
regular MD.
He said, you're a mom,
That's crazy.
A regular family physician. He said, you're a mother. I'm a mother of 9. I have my own business. I have a lot on my plate. So he feels if you're tired, you must be depressed. And that wasn't the case. And it wasn't that he even took the time to run a blood panel. He didn't take the time. He just made an assumption that you must be overwhelmed. You must be depressed. And that wasn't the case. And it wasn't the first time a doctor has done this. And if it wasn't for, like I said, prayer, like Dee said, and just knowing my own body and advocating for myself and advocating for others too, like you said, to research and advocate for yourself, you will get taken for a fool. I want to say 3 years ago, they said, you need a hysterectomy. You have this. You have PTSD, you have this and this, and that. And they showed you all these pictures of what it looked like, not my own uterus, but what it looked like on why you would need a hysterectomy. So you couldn't have children. You couldn't do this. The day before my hysterectomy, I found out I was pregnant. Me and my husband was elated and then shocked at the same time because we were going to go through what this doctor had said. And I went and got a second opinion. And everything they said was not true. It was all a lie. But because my OBGYN was fed up, was discouraged that my middle class family, as an African American middle class family, was procreating. And he didn't like that. You have 8 children, you have too many kids. I don't like it.
What?
I'm not on the system. We pay for our own children. We pay our own way. Me and my husband are both college educated. I run my own business. He runs his own business and works for a corporate Fortune 500 company. And we do very well. If I want to have 10, 12 kids, that is my right. Who are you as an MD to then say, you need this procedure, so I'm going to give it to you, and you must trust me, no matter what others. So I get a second opinion. They talk and agree that this should be done, and then they plan it to be done. I believe it. Well, me and my husband, we're distraught. But then find out it was all a mind manipulation to then force you into their own thing. And this is why we grow a mistrust to the medical field of and just knowing that they want to take advantage of us and feeling that. I've been through that. And I definitely have a growing mistrust of majority of Caucasian doctors on why they're diagnosing it. I need to really know the fine print. I need to see exactly why, and I want to see my test results. And they don't like that. They tell me, who's the doctor? Me or you?
Yeah.
And I said, but whose body is it? Yours or mine? Because I've been living in this one for 41 years. You haven't. So who are you to tell me what it is I need?
And think of how many. It is
very hard.
Think of how many people in our community deal with that, right? They go through that, but they don't get the second opinion. They just say, you know what, girl, I tried that before. That stuff don't work. It's all a bunch of crap. You know what I'm saying? It's all a joke. So now they will trust their friend that went through that more than they would trust somebody else that has that clinical speak that can't relate to them correctly, right? So now that stigma grows.
Well, this is why.
Third, fourth, fifth opinion. Sometimes you need it. You need a third, fourth, fifth opinion. Don't, you know what I mean? Get as many as you feel comfortable with.
That's what I'm talking about.
You don't even have to do a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going.
And then a lot of people don't realize that their insurance will pay for those second, third opinions.
This is what I'm talking
about. And
on
the back end, for me, one of the things that I teach our employees and what I started doing on the side with mostly women of color is teaching them how to control their visit in the doctor's office. Because a lot of people don't know from something as simple as a physical, all the things that should be getting done during your physical. And it's like, well, are you getting this done? Well, no, then you didn't get a physical. And I'm teaching them how to be more assertive in the doctor's office, giving them checklists where, okay, this is what needs to be done during the visit. Here's some notes that you need to take in reference to the diagnosis they give you. Do your own research. And a lot of times the doctors want to do is rush you in the visit and give you like 15 minutes. You're like, no, my appointment is for this. And when you make your appointment, I tell people, tell them what your appointment is for and tell them how long you want your appointment to be. And they'll have to schedule accordingly for you because they have a contract with the insurance companies. If they do not do all the things that they contracted to do, then you can go ahead to your insurance company, complain about them, and if they get enough complaints, they're going to be kicked off the network.
Yep.
So
and to speak to that, remember when I said I break down those rights. I break down those rights for those reasons. And the reason why I say this is, what we just spoke about is the core of what this solution-based podcast, this solution-based community is all about.
Right.
Okay? This solution-based community is an available resource. Okay? It's an available resource. What I wanted to talk about,
transition,
how to stay well. All right, I'm cool today. How the hell can I stay cool tomorrow and the next day and so on and so forth? We got exercise, we got eating properly, we got drinking water. We got a ton of these things. And this is where I shut the hell up and I asked Miss Juanita for her professional suggestion / opinion on how African Americans at this particular time, turning on the television, watching our brothers and sisters getting slaughtered, just reading the news, and wow, my Lord, the list goes on and on and on. My wife got macaroni and cheese in the thing. I don't want to talk about that. And just macaroni and cheese and with the extra cheese in it. Man, I ain't even going. Oh Lord, Juanita, please.
Come on, Granny Smith.
Me.
Bring it
and
on.
I'm still gonna eat that shit tonight. But go ahead, Juanita. Go ahead. Take the floor,
right now, especially during this pandemic, I want to say that what's most important is, because what has been removed is our ability to socialize, in a sense. Okay, and with that ability to socialize comes community support, right? Comes also usually interacting with our families. Something like, for me personally, that I miss more than anything is be able to hug my mother. Okay, that's something that I can't do right now. Something that is like just detrimental. When I'm upset, when I'm hurt, I go to my mother. Right? I seek my mother. I seek her counsel. I go to my therapist. So I think right now we have to learn to use social media for exactly what it was intended, which is a purpose like this. Okay, not so much to drown ourselves with just memes and things that really don't matter, but to have forums like this where we're making our community, and like I said, using this platform as it was intended to be used to educate ourselves. I'm also a big firm believer in a daily routine. Okay, you need a daily routine. All right. If you're somebody like me who works from home most of the time, because I'm doing therapy remotely most of the time, I have a couple clients that stay out of the community. A daily routine is important. I wake up, I get dressed, I take a shower, I put on clothes. Okay, that is important. Staying in your pajamas all day long, staying there is not going to help you much. Don't get me wrong, you can do it from time to time, but being able to keep some sense of a daily routine is really, really important. Making sure that we're still connecting to people. Okay, even though you can't see them, use a telephone, dial out, right? Call them. Use FaceTime if you can, or we Apple junkies here, or I guess I don't know what Android.
Whoa! I'm Android.
We use Duo, ma'am.
My man Joe iPhone.
Here we go.
Great Joe back with the iPhone, baby.
Yeah, but Google Duo, whatever it is that you're using, but reach out and connect with each other. Have real in touch conversations with people. Real talk. Get deep with each other. Now's the time for rest and healing as well. Now's the time for meditation. Now's the time to write down those goals, right? And make a list of the things. Now's the time for reflection and introspection. You should be doing that on a continuous basis. We have been given a gift, and I think it's also in how our perception of what we view this as. Some view this as being trapped. I view this as a time to rest, right? Yeah. As a time to revamp, as a time to remodel. So how we frame our thoughts is also going to be really important. Are you trapped or are you safe? Yes. Mm-hmm. And for those people who have experienced grief or loss and are going through grief, get the help. Even though it might be online, it is very, very, successful. I have people that I see online all day long, and it works. It works. Just because I can't physically see you, we can still exchange energy, and you can still heal through these types of forms. And I think it's brilliant to be able to do therapy anywhere. Go to the park, have your therapy session. Sit on the bench, have your therapy session. In bed, have your therapy session. However you want it, it's now there. Okay. And it's still private. It's still confidential, and you can still do that. Another thing, yes, we're talking about diet. We're talking about but exercise is highly important right now, because what most of us are doing is nothing. Okay. Mm-hmm. We are still. All right. If we're talking about the holistic concepts and people who don't like medication, okay, my first thing to them whenever they say, well, I don't want to take medication, I'm like, I'm all for it, because that's my first thing I try. Are you eating right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you exercising? Okay. Because all of these things affect our chemicals in our brain, right? Dopamine, serotonin, all this different stuff, right? That's why you feel so good after you work out. And it doesn't have to be anything extraneous. Get outside and go for a walk. Put your mask on, go for a walk. Something small. And I recommend that people do this twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. Okay. Just for yourself, just to get out and to go for a walk. Don't forget your vitamin D is also going to be very important, because what we're going to start seeing is like seasonal depression, when it looks like when the sun goes down, but we're actually starting to see it because we're indoors so much. So vitamin D is really important as well. I'll also recommend for everyone to, now's the time, like I said, as you're working on those goals, set goals that you can achieve right now. Okay. You can make your vision board for everybody who wants to do something for your 5-year plan. But what is something that you can start doing right now? Because that gives us momentum to keep going, right? To keep building. So if it's something small, I'm going to make sure that I cook 5 times this week instead of ordering out. Because I know a lot of us right now is kind of like, I want some of that mac and cheese, by the way. Yeah. But, so what is small goals that you can achieve right now for yourself? Also, get a new hobby. Try something new. Pick up something that you've never seen before to get your brain working in a different way. When you shake up your mind, right, and you do that, it's just good all around. Whether it's learning a new language, learning to play an instrument, painting, drawing, what is it that you like? That is something that you can be interested. Sewing, I don't know, what is it? If you have children, do these things with them. Get together with them and say, you know what? Now it's crafting hour, and everybody pull out some pine cones and paint pine cones, whatever it is. But now's the time to get your creative juices flowing, because art is really powerful, right? And using art in therapy, I'd love to be able to do such and pair it together. So doing something that you've never done before is really important, okay? And let me say, last but not least, start building on your relationships. Now's the time to build a relationship. If you're married, you have the benefit of being able to live in the same house with each other. Get to know each other, okay? Because what you're starting to learn each other is you're about to learn each other through trauma. It's a different person. It's a different person who we are in trauma than when we're not in trauma. We are all in trauma right now. We are all experiencing trauma at the same time. And for us as Black people, we've always had trauma. So we just have this big giant icing on the top of our cake that we've already had. But now it's just about maybe like this big, off the screen, just slapped on there. And we're seeing it over and over and over again. Also, stay off the news if you can. Okay, I'm a big believer of this. I like to read my information. I'm a big person because then I choose when I want it. Okay, when I want to go and read it. I do not start my day with it. All right, I do not turn on, because if I see that little orange man, it just burns me up to the death of me. I don't want it. I don't want it. So I choose when I go on, because if you drown yourself, remember, we also operate in vibrations. So depending on where your mental state is, depends on what vibration you're giving out. So what you allow into your space, what people you allow around you, what people you interact with, all affect us on a daily basis, all day long. So that person that ain't no good, that every time they call and they drama, watch the phone ring. It's okay. Watch it ring. You don't owe anybody anything. Watch it ring and let them find somebody else, because they will find somebody else to vent to and to give it to. That's okay. Okay. So finding all these different things, just little things that you can do to help yourself while you're here. But I'm going to tell you, prayer to meditation, whatever you call it, okay, whatever floats your boat, is going to be really important. That's your special time with yourself. Okay. Because I like to tell people this, and this is really, really, really important. If you don't like your own company, how can you expect other people to?
There it is.
There we
you
go.
Can't sit still in your thoughts. There's a reason for it. And I always tell people, when you're meditating or when you're praying, what we tend to do, and I'm sure we're all done this, is I don't want to talk about right? It'd be a little too much and you shake it off. You don't want to. That's the place you need to go. That place, whatever thoughts that pop up. Meditation is not about clearing your mind. Meditation is about sitting with emotion. And once you learn to sit with emotion, then you can process it. Because if you can't hear it, how the hell do you know what's going on? How do you know what you need if you're not even willing to allow yourself to process the emotions that you're experiencing, right? So prayer and meditation is really important right now, to sit with these emotions, find out what you need, find out the emotions that keep popping up. If you keep popping up and that memory keeps going back to your childhood, that's something you need to address. Use this time to address it. Why not? If your mama, your daddy, somebody did something to you, address it. Now's the time to make amends, to make peace, because tomorrow really is not promised. So all those little bits, I think, come together to be able to help us out.
I'm just so, I'm so proud of you, Juanita.
Proud of you.
You are so amazing. I love you.
I love you too.
I just met you today, and I wanted to tell you I love you too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I felt real connected.
Listen, I'll tell you what. Let me tell you real quick. And this thing ain't over yet, but I want to let you guys know. And for Brown Girl, indeed, they'll tell you this shit. Once you've come on, you're part of the community. Yeah. And you're attached to this particular. This is a family. So yes, we love you. Yes, we love you, okay? And we're going to continue to love you, okay? To love you is to love ourselves, because you are a part of us.
Right.
We cannot disown you, because you gave us life today. Right. You've contributed to our continuation of life. Continuum of care. You've contributed to that. How can I not love someone who loved me? Right. Not just said it, but did it.
Yeah.
So I'll go back and I'll say it again. The most unselfish thing we can do is be selfish without without attending to ourselves, we can be no good to anyone else.
Amen.
The ultimate relationship, I will restate this because the sister Juanita stated this. The ultimate relationship is the one with yourself. Mm-hmm. I don't mean to plug my book, but right here is a picture of me looking into myself. Okay? This book is entitled From GED to College Degree, How to Better Control Your Successes and Blessings. Okay? One day at a time. The reader becomes the author. The series is called The Full Experience. We'll go into that later. I don't mean to plug this book. I just want to tell you guys, the most unselfish thing we can do is be selfish.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
This thing is about doing one thing towards your goal per day. One thing towards your goal per day. You want to build a house? It's built brick by brick. You got 365 days this year. All you got to do is stay alive.
Yeah. And one more thing that I want to tell you guys, because it's important to me, it's just on my heart to say, is we always, you guys did a segment about role models, I believe, yes. Right? Role models in community. And what I always love to say about a role model is when I look at role models, I say, what role do you want in life? And does your behavior model it?
Here we go.
Right? What role do you want in life and does your behavior model it? What goal do you want in life and does your behavior model it? You know, whatever you want to achieve and whatever you want to do is what you're doing right now, aligning you with what that purpose is, what you want. You know, if you want to be married and that's your goal of being married, is what you're doing right now aligning you with somebody to be married?
Right.
Or is that aligning
Are you a husband today?
Yeah, or are you aligned with, you know, maybe thotting around a little bit, you know, something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
you know,
right.
do you want that career, or you know, or is it what your behavior aligning you where when they pull up your social media page, they're gonna find such and such or whatever that's gonna block you from this or whatever it is, right? So I think that goes back into ourselves. What do we want for ourselves, and how are we making sure that we're achieving and moving towards that goal, right? And there's only light or darkness for me. You know, whether you spiritual, whatever you believe in, you know, for me, I call him Christ. For you, people call him whatever. But to me, it's light and darkness. Is what you're doing building or destroying? And that's important even when it comes to mental thoughts too. Is what you're feeding yourself destroying you or building you up? Is that thought of, you know, I can't do this? That's a destructive thought. As it's not going to happen. That's a destructive thought. You know, anxiety is a bully. I define it as a bully within. When I teach my kids how to recognize anxiety, I say it's a bully. It never tells you that you're pretty. It never tells you that you're kind. It never tells you that you can do it. It's always a bully to you. It's always attacking, right? It's always lurking. So that's a thought that's leading you towards destruction. So now we know we need to apply a strategy to make sure that doesn't work. Okay. So something like looking for, how do you know if something's overwhelming you? Try to look at anxiety like these bullies that naturally attack us. Try to look at depressions as, you know, those things that make us unable to reach, like I said, reach our highest potential, reach our highest level of functioning. And if that keeps happening over and over and over and over again, and you can't get past it no matter what, then that's probably a good time to call a therapist to help you work through it. Okay. A medication is important when it's necessary. But remember, medication and going through with therapy, they need to pair together, okay? And that's really important to make sure that they go together, all right? Do not just stop taking medication, all right? And do not just stop doing therapy. Combine them together and get a, you know, holistic feeling. Do you always need medication? No, you don't, depending on the severity of your needs, all right? But try the therapy first, add the medication in. If therapy, once you do therapy and you hit a wall, maybe it's time for the medication. So it's kind of like a little puzzle piece, but what do you want in life and are you moving towards it?
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry. And maybe we'll say this for the end. Now, if somebody was looking for a Black therapist, where would you recommend them to go?
Oh, this is a tricky one because, see, for me, I have a group of people because I'm created by Black therapists, right? My mentors are all African-American. So I grew up in this pool of therapists. So I kind of use my sources, my resources that I've already utilized before, or that taught me and trained me. So I keep using them. But there are certain places, there's a website, and I can't get it off the top of my head, but when you guys post this, I'll give it to you so then you guys can post it. But there's a website that I have, and it's just in my phone that I usually pull up, and it give you a list of different people that clinicians
We'll
that
also be listening too.
and they will say black therapists or black clinicians that you can use in your area, and they have the ability to post their information there. Yeah. So it's a sad thing because it's something that they post. They put themselves on that platform that you can use in the area. But I've also had some people call in and be like, to services, to social services, and we'll call in and say, do you have black clinicians? Yes. We want to know what Legacy or Twin Oaks, whatever people's names are. Mm-hmm. When you're going for an agency, ask for, can you give me the names of the black clinicians that you have? Are they male or are they female? Don't be afraid to do that. And then from there, asking, you can ask, what insurances do you guys take? So sometimes we have to do our own research there. So I do it like that. But there is a website where they post their own personal information. You can find black clinicians.
Psychology Today.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Thank you. That's exactly what it is.
Another thing is, I wanted to let you know, Juanita, on our website, it's actually pending right now, but on our website, our community is filled with black professionals. So we'll be posting that as well. Check it out. On this platform, we are known to leave better than we came. So this segment is for us to give our comments, our closing comments. I'm going to tell you, I learn 1,000 things every time I come on here. And my family gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I got more available resources. I got a new sister, Juanita. You understand? And it's just, it's amazing. So I would like us to take turns and just, give our closing comments of what we came with and what we leaving with.
I tell you what, I enjoyed today taking a backseat to my little sister. I just like to kind of sit back and listen to her talk and watch her move. But I appreciate all of you for bringing everything that you did here. Ivy, Brown Girl, D, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate all of y'all. This is something that I believe is very important because, we didn't really get to touch on this too much, but there are, just lines of my family that suffer from mental illness. I got almost entire lines of my family wiped out because of mental illness.
Yes.
And are still dealing with it. So it's very important and very dear to me that this gets straightened out because there's so much of it and it's so prevalent. I would do anything that I can to try to promote mental health. I sit back and have conversations with D, I don't know, till we blue in the face about stuff that I feel like, need to happen. But as long as we have a positive outlook and we keep pushing positivity about this, and encouraging people the correct way and gaining trust, and keeping our relatability, I think that we can really move the needle even further than it has been.
Man, I learned a lot, and it's always great. I know, offline, that's my little sister as well. So, so I know that she brought a lot to it, and I appreciate the other ladies and the experience that they bring. It was just a great forum. And there's one thing that I was thinking about it. I wanted to just let you guys know, right, and touch on, man, because it's the time it couldn't have been more perfect for this podcast. Is, if you're an NBA fan, right, the first 3 games that Paul George played, it was like he set a record for like how poor his percentage went. He had like 13 points, 11 points, 9 points. Then last night, he lit him up for 35. He was back to Paul George. So everybody thought to themselves, like, they was questioning, where was this guy? Was the APB out? All of us judging him. And he got out there today and, after the game, and he said, you know what? I was in a dark place. He said, mentally, I was in such a dark place, I had to go see a therapist. He said, we was in this bubble, so much was going on. He said, man, I was out there. He said, but then when I realized that, like you said, Herb, I wanted to touch on this, man. You hit something, brother. You said the most unselfish thing you can do is be selfish. Mm-hmm. He said something similar. I was hurting my team by avoiding the stigma of perceiving it to be a weakness. So he went and saw the team therapist, and he got out there cooking. He went back to Paul George. That's and right. What I applaud that man for, they was talking about it all day today, what I applaud that man for is stepping up and saying that, because guess how many people now can look and say, oh, it's okay to go seek help. Paul George did it. And this goes right back to everything we was talking about today. So I loved it. It was perfect timing for this. Loved it, y'all. Thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for inviting me on. I really appreciate it. Like, I learned so much from Juanita. She's wonderful. She's awesome. You guys have a great platform here to help so many and to inform so many people in our community. I'm proud of you, Herb. I'm proud to see where you're going and what you're doing with your life. I haven't seen you since high school. So awesome. You're amazing. So I'm just happy to have been a part of your platform and been able to learn so much. So I appreciate,
you're part of the family
everyone
now.
on here.
You're part of the community now. Thank you so much. You're a part of the community now. So this is your home.
That's
Brown
right.
girl, hold up. Hold up. I'm going to get on my feet on this one. Hold on. I can't get I'm excited. Brown girl, what we got?
It was everything. Like, honestly, this gave me life today. Because a lot of times that we just ignore the fact that we need help. And like Dee said, when we have these athletes, when we start having these celebrities normalize that therapy is okay, therapy is necessary, therapy can help you navigate through to get to a better part in your life. And then when you see it changing them, and it makes it so that younger kids that are looking up to these people like, hey, you know what, am I in a dark space? And then we start to have these conversations. I just had a conversation with someone just the other day about, and just a trigger comment that Black men don't protect Black women and everything. And we had this whole long conversation, and it boiled down to like when we just had like this aha moment with, he was like, yeah, no, I said, yeah, I was like, but you guys experience so much trauma too. And I was like, and you're not taking the time to heal from it. And like from Black women, we're starting to heal from a lot of our trauma, but we don't have our men healing at the same rate. So I think this conversation was so necessary. And the fact that Herb and Juanita, that both of you had that background of being clinicians, and you guys speak the language. You know, and I hate that it sounds terrible when I say it out loud. You speak the language of the poor. So when you speak the language and somebody can come to you exactly how they are without the fear of being judged, without the fear of being misunderstood, and they're saying, this person looks like me, it opens up opportunities for generational curses to be broken, for generational traumas to be broken, and just to go ahead and start creating better generations going forward by starting with themselves. So it's so necessary. Y'all are dope as fuck, yo. So I appreciate it.
So listen, although this segment is definitely coming to an end, I do not believe that this topic will come to an end. Yeah. I thought of some things, and with King's signature, which I know he tends to back me on a lot of things, I'm gonna go out on a limb. And I'm going to say that it has to be a part 2. You know why, Juanita? We have not touched on, and I don't want to touch on this, I want to leave this alone. I want to say it and I want to leave it alone. We have not touched on psychophysiological disorders and substance use disorders in the African American community. And with that, I want to say, thank you all for coming out, and we out. Peace.